Amir, did you have any other
But
questions before we get rolling?
So students must leave before the
Yeah, we're
mentor.
just jumping into mentor stuff now. So we've covered everything that students need to know. Yep. Mentors is just going to be organizational things and
Oh, I see.
that kind
With
of
you.
stuff. You're good to go. Thanks, Amir. All right. I think we're down to just our mentors now. So welcome, everybody. It's great to have you on mentor orientation. A lot of the slides are the same for those of you that joined us at 6 o'clock. So we won't take copious amounts of time. The biggest thing is we want to make sure if there's anything that you all feel that you need for organization or prep, that we have that stuff covered for you. So I'll go through things quick, but as always, interrupt, unmute if you have any questions, stop us for anything that you might need. Big welcome to the apprentices that are on. We're very excited that you all are starting as apprentices on Monday. Congratulations. And we're extra excited that you'll be using part of your apprenticing time as an assistant mentor with the Practicum, because you all did so well in Practicum and throughout classes. So you'll be great resources for the students that are in Practicum currently. Anything else that you need to add to kick us off, Frank?
I think is this the first time we had new apprentices start as mentors as well? I think it is, isn't it?
I think so from the
As
get-go.
a
Yeah,
group?
usually
Yeah,
the
it's
apprentices
pretty
had already
cool.
been on board for a little bit for past practica.
Our apprentices are getting so good so
I
fast.
know.
Jeez, my goodness gracious.
Yep, that's the truth.
Cool.
Okay. So for those of you that didn't join at 6, here's a quick overview of practicum structure. We took React and Node students, grouped them together, so you'll have X number of React students and X number of Node students in your group. This is an unusual practicum. We have quite a few multi-class grads. So as you'll notice on that practicum all channel that you all should be in, where I've listed out teams, there are a number that are back or either because they've taken a front and a back class already. So you'll see some of your students are capable in React and Node. Some have only taken Node, some have only taken React. That listing of students in that Practicum All channel will be a great source for you to quickly get a glance of who can do what within your team, but you'll also be getting to know them to know what they can do. Each of you are, each mentor, each volunteer mentor is assigned a team, and then each team will also have an apprentice assistant mentor to be able to help out with organizational things, help build your leadership skills and your code review skills and all of that good stuff, and let you kind of see the practicum from a step above where you saw it when you were a team member, as far as skill level and getting comfortable with workflows and managing a team and that kind of a thing. For the Ruby on Rails, so Daniel that is on the call, you'll be the primary mentor. John will be your backup. If you feel like you need an apprentice assisting your team at all, Daniel, just let us know. We have a few Rails apprentices that could easily hop in and be your assistant if you need or want it. Curriculum, so students should be building on their learning. They should be focusing on collaboration, communication. They'll be learning the workflow process of getting comfortable with sprints and stand-ups and Scrum. They'll be getting their feet wet with project management devices. A lot of them probably have not worked with ticketing systems a lot. They probably haven't worked with sort of those organizational things within a project. So it'll be a really good opportunity for them to kind of slowly get comfortable with how all of those work and just the variety of things that are out there that can be used for those ends and purposes. They'll get to see what a project looks like from concept as they're brainstorming and figuring out what they want to do through wireframing, through build, through testing, through deployment. And throughout that, then you all will be sort of the voice of experience to help keep them from biting off more than they can chew. They should be seeing what merge conflicts look like, how those are handled to be able to resolve those. They should be learning about code review and be participating in code review with each other in this process as well. At the end, they'll demo their work, so that way they can get comfortable with talking about what they've done and how they did it. And then at the end, hopefully complete and deploy a simple app. The tools that they'll be using are the classes codethedream.org. Hopefully most of you already have access to this. I know several of you, I do still need to add access for this to for this to you. Yeah, there we go. But here is a quick look at what it looks like. So you'll be able to log into the CTD Learns app, which is classes.codethedream.org. You'll see a dashboard with the information there, or you can go to courses and click on the course to be able to go to their particular schedule. We have a calendar that breaks down. Sprint 1 is going to be scoping, repost setup, project management tool setup. And so we've got them broken down individual weeks. So you can take a look and see, okay, week 1, this is what we're learning. This is where we go. That actually pointed to the wrong one. Backend should be doing data modeling and schema. Front end should be doing design and wireframing, so on and so forth. So feel free to dive in there and get that set up. I will get anybody who's not in there currently in there by tonight, by midnight tonight. And yeah, jumping back over to here. Slack channels, you each have a private channel for your dedicated team, and then we have that Practicum All. We also have the Practicum Mentors channel. So if there are things that you need to talk about that are outside the view of students, feel free to share that information in the FFF Mentors channel. If there are things that you want to share that came up in your group that will be beneficial to all groups, like, hey, we're using this tool and it's really great, or we just found out there's been an update change and this package no longer is compatible. For those of you that are building this, be aware of this issue. So you can share all that information in that Practicum All channel. The Zoom that we're on right now is going to be a group Zoom that's available for all teams to use at any time. We do have a calendar built out that teams should be using to be able to put down when their team is meeting, what day and time, include the time zone. So that way you'll be able to just jump to this spreadsheet and see if your team is meeting at a particular time so that you're aware, but that also probably should be happening in your Slack channels as far as communicating when teams are going to be meeting. If multiple teams need to meet at the same day and time on the Slack Mentors channel, let me just pull this into view really quick. Then we do have the host key listed up here. So if you and another team are meeting in the Zoom link at the same time, then you'll just enter in your host key by going to, I think you go to participants and then you do claim as host and enter in that 6-digit key. And that way you can do breakout rooms. So team 3 is in one breakout room and team 5 is in another breakout room. So you can kind of split it up however you need to there. Okay, moving right along. Other teams might be using additional things. I know one team has already used Figma for their wireframing. They're going to be using Jira for their ticketing system. So there's different things that might come up that will be in use for your team. It can vary from team to team. So just putting that on your radar. Students should be completing tickets weekly and referring to resources to be able to work through any issues they have to complete those projects or tasks that have been divvied out amongst their team as far as what they're supposed to be doing. They should be regularly communicating, attending their group weekly meetings. They should be supportive, encouraging, treating it as though it's a dress rehearsal, basically. You all should be attending weekly meetings for your group, be the voice of experience. So if they're getting a little off the rails, or if they're getting a little big for their britches as far as making a bigger app than what they can actually manage in 8 weeks, helping them scale back and really focus and hone in on those particular items that really just need to be the MVPs. And assisting folks as needed with any kind of technical issues. Set boundaries. Like a lot of students feel a lot of pressure in Practicum. So don't be afraid to set boundaries for yourself and say, hey, I'm only available this hour on Monday, this hour on Wednesday, this hour on Friday, or I'm going to be sitting down to be looking at Practicum work from, 4 to 6 p.m. on a Wednesday or something like that. So just be very clear. Again, communicating is key in Practicum as far as when you'll be available, so students know that expectation and know they need to be working together or working on their own to get through things until you're available to help them. And then supporting students in their learning to work together is obviously going to be helpful there. The week can look a little different depending on the team. We kind of give this as an example week as far as regularly check their ticketing system, project management device, update as needed. They should be working on any tasks and communicating about those. having a daily Scrum meeting, which can be asynchronous. If you need or want me to set up any reminders for your team channel, just let me know. If you want me to sync in GitHub repos to your team channel, so that way you get alerts when pull requests are merged in your team channel, things like that, just tell me about it. So yeah, it might look a little different depending on what your teams look like, but in general, that's kind of the concept. As far as on your meeting day, everybody updates everyone, and you kind of plan to pivot if you need to for any alterations, and then review who's doing what for the upcoming week. Have I forgotten anything up to this point, Frank? Anything that you want to add?
No, everybody here has done practicum, so obviously a lot of this stuff is going to be pretty much review. The only thing different is that you'll be looked upon like as a leader as opposed to somebody working on the team. So just think of it that way. Just think of all the things that you had to go through when you're doing practicum or practicums, if you did more than one, and try to think from like the student's point of view, which now you are not. So it's a little bit different way of thinking. But just be understand like what they're going through, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. All right. So as I had mentioned, if you were on earlier, if you joined us at 6:45, each team's going to have two repositories from the Code the Dream School GitHub account, one for front, one for back. Ruby on Rails will be either using a student's repo if they decide to use a student's final project and build on that for their practicum project, or if they decide to go completely new, just let us know and we can build those repositories. You all will be administrators on these repositories, so if you need to make any changes, you will have all the permissions to do any of the things. But students should be observing, assisting with merge conflict resolution, and kind of understanding the process that's happening as far as, okay, this person did this pull request, we merge this in, this person does this pull request, we merge this in, and making sure that students are aware that they need to be regularly updating to make sure that anything that did get merged is in their code, so that way they won't revert things if they didn't do a pull before pushing their work. They'll be cloning the repositories directly, not forking. So if you notice students having issues and it's because they sent it back to their GitHub account repository, they forked instead of cloned. So they need to clone since they're all working collaboratively on a particular repository or repositories, and they need to be focusing on doing their work on separate branches, not on main, not on development. It needs to be a separate branch where they're doing their work. So testing and merge can happen without causing big issues. Questions about anything up to this point?
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, Saul?
Good to see you. So, what's the scope of an assistant mentor compared to the lead mentor? I don't know. I don't know if I have missed that.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine.
Uh-huh.
So the lead mentors will be almost like a project manager
Mhm.
on a project. And then you'll be sort of their right-hand man, I guess is the best way to describe it. I don't know if that's
Mhm.
very helpful. Frank, do you want to
But
chime in?
so you could think of it as like like, well, you haven't been an apprentice yet, so it's hard to try to do an analogy, but you haven't done apprentice work yet. So a lead mentor will lead the discussions. They'll determine whether their MVP is viable, but they'll come to you for like maybe technical support. They'll come to you for reviewing PRs. They'll come to you to maybe do a one-on-one or answer technical questions. Obviously, they could answer it too, but they're assuming that you're technical enough to, since you've done practicum 1 or 2 times, to basically, handle any technical issues, whether it be just like on the React side or the Node side, whichever is your specialty, as well as any kind of basic Git issues. But, they'll be overseeing what you do, but they'll be kind of leading the team. But if they're not available, they'll come to you. Or if there's something specific that, they need somebody to work on as a one-on-one with a student, they'll come to you as well.
But it doesn't mean that it's also all completely on your shoulders. Like if you're
Right.
trying to help
Mhm.
students and you're getting into waters that you're unfamiliar with, that's why you have a
Right.
lead mentor too.
Yeah.
So if there's
Mhm.
something that's
Yeah.
like, this is beyond what I'm knowledgeable of or comfortable with or whatever, then
Yeah.
that's why the mentors are there.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you very much for the clarification.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully just a quick one. For the repository, can I add branch protection rules just to prevent
Yes.
commits directly on me? Thank
Yeah.
you. That's all.
Yes. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
definitely. Not a bad idea to do. Other questions out there? Okay.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, my question is because the team where I am, they decided to do Next.js. Will
Okay.
you create the separate repository, or should we do it?
That's interesting. So if they're doing next, the entire group, so they're not gonna need the node one. So I would just basically rebuild it. So you can ignore the node repo because you don't need it, and basically just like, clear it out and just rebuild it. I would do that.
Just rebuild the React
The
repository?
React one. Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
Just wipe it. Yeah.
If it's easier for your team, Anna, I can just create a repository that all it is just a name and a README, and you all can go from
Okay.
there.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Yeah. Mhm.
And that way you won't have the confusion of like the starter README documents that we have in there. Here, I can show you, this is similar to what we have as starter repositories for front and back. So for back, then it walks through setting up their local environment, what they should expect to see. And then for the front, it's showing them, file structure, local development environment, that kind of a thing. So since your team won't need that, then I can just do an empty repository
Thank
to
you.
go from there.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. I will take care of that.
What group is yours?
6.
Team 6.
6. Okay.
Yeah, because all backend, all who took backend, they already on the second practicum. So they decided to try Next.js and the same React.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Any other questions out there for mentors?
Yeah. Since I'm a late ad, I don't have a team yet. I was wondering if you have an assignment for that.
I'm
Or if I'm
probably going to have you
interested in
with
taking this
Team 7, Roy. There are 3 or 4 of the mentors that weren't personally requested by a team to be the mentor. And so if time management issues cause problems to where I have to swap you all out, that's totally fine. But I'll probably start you, excuse me, start you with Team 7.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so at the end of practicum, you all will complete an evaluation on each of your students, just so that way they know what areas they can be proud of, what areas they need to be building on. You'll be asked what role they should play if they decide to do a second practicum. So we're just starting this option of students being able to retake practicum multiple times, so they're keeping skills sharp while they're job searching. For anybody that either can't apply to our apprenticeship or didn't want to apply for our apprenticeship, then they still have a way to kind of stay engaged and network and keep skills sharp. They'll have opportunities to be a student leader, or I think similar to like the assistant mentor role that you apprentices will be playing right now, I think was the other option that we had out there. Or they could also be a team member to just skill build if their technical skills are weak enough that they need to be focused on just strengthening their technical skills only, and don't need to be working on sort of like those leadership behavioral skills that will be appealing to job hunters. So you'll just let us know what your recommendation would be. It's still ultimately kind of up to the student as far as, even if they're approved for a student leader, if they feel like they want to build technical skills more, that's fine, they can do that. But your input will be valuable, because if they're being hard on themselves and they really are ready for a leadership role, then we can let them know, look, your practicum mentors felt like you really were ready for something more, that your technical skill level already is at a good spot. So start working on other skills as well. Also on that form, you'll indicate whether or not they seem prepared to be an apprentice. So that way, if they are applying for the apprenticeship, then we know if you feel like their skill level is where it should be. We don't look only at your recommendation. We're looking at how they did throughout our program. We're looking at final projects they submitted. We're looking at what their participation was within the practicum, and how they worked on that team. We're looking at the assessment that they do to see where their technical skill level is at with that. And we look at all of those things combined, as well as considering like what their need is, what their availability is. Does our pay even meet their personal financial needs? So there's a lot of stuff like that that we look at throughout that process. So don't feel like you're, automatically sending somebody into the apprenticeship or automatically kicking somebody out of consideration by your responses. But we do want to know what your insight is since you've been working most closely with them. I think that kind of covers it. The important takeaways we always want you all to have is schedule your office hours, make sure that you're clearly communicating what your boundaries and limits are, because boundaries benefit students and volunteers alike. If they know that they can't reach you for a couple of days, they will be more encouraged to work through things on their own and or to team up with a classmate and skill build that way. So schedule those office hours. It keeps you from burning out. It keeps them having to rely on themselves a little bit more and be a little bit more confident and independent in their skills. It's okay to tell students, I'm not available to help with this right now. Please give them an alternative if you aren't available. So let them know, can you reach out to our assistant mentor for some help? Can you reach out to this person that's on your team? I know that they're already good in that field and they can help you out with it so that they can pair program. Or if there are resources that you're aware of, like, oh yeah, I did a tutorial that really helped me understand that particular thing that you're working with and struggling with. Here's the link to it. That is extremely helpful. If teams have a particularly strong front or back team or strong individuals within the team, then definitely encourage them to take on a little more, like automated testing or error handling. Encourage them to kind of reach out and branch out. But you also need to keep in mind, don't have them take on something that will add to the project that maybe other team members will struggle working with. So if you had one team member that's like, hey, let's change this all into Next, and everybody else was like, whoa, hold on, I don't know that I'm ready for that, then obviously you might want to find something else for that person to be working on and building with. So hopefully that's helpful information. What questions do you all have that we can answer? Quiet bunch. We're very thorough, I guess, Frank.
They're experts already, Mary Alice. They don't have to worry about nothing.
Exactly.
Come on. I mean, we trained up good.
Yeah, this is the biggest practicum. I just saw your note, Catherine. Wow, so many teams in the chat. Yeah, this is the biggest practicum we've had in the history of Code the Dream. So
until the next biggest practicum we'll have probably later this year again.
Yeah.
We had only 4 teams, yes.
Yeah.
And it seems like I'm not in the main channel. Where is the
Oh,
all-
goodness. Okay. Yeah, I'll be sure to add you so that way you're in there for sure.
Thank you. And also, if you will be adding me tonight on classes, Code the Dream classes, can
Absolutely.
you also add intro to programming course for me since I'm volunteering there?
Yes. Yeah, I will take care of all of it. Thank you for reminding me and letting me know. All right. No other questions out there? Okay, I will end recording and we'll put the recording up later tonight. So that way if you do need or want to refer back to any of it, then you can. As soon as I find where recording is, there it is.